I'm so tired. I should hire a babysitter just so I can have a sleep.
You look tired.
Hiring a babysitter 101. Hey Ben,
Yeah.
do you reckon we could hire a babysitter full time?
Yeah.
Is it okay to hire a babysitter for your husband? Hi ladies, it's Abby McKenna here from Ready Set Mum, and in this video we're going to talk about all the information that you need to know and the questions that you need to ask in order to find the right babysitter for you. We're also going to talk you through the process for hiring and also how you can best transition your little one into a babysitter's care. Now we have got an ultimate downloadable guide here at Ready Set Mum to help you find out all of the qualities, the type of babysitter, the experience, the questions that you need to ask, and this can help you through this process of hiring not only a babysitter but also a nanny. So whether it's a once-off babysitter that you're looking for, maybe you need a regular babysitter, you might be going back to work or taking off on that really important weekly date night with your partner or husband, or if it's a full-time nanny that you're looking for, you can use this video, our article, and of course a downloadable guide at Ready Set Mum on how to hire a babysitter. Now with my first daughter Ayla, it took me about 18 months before I was ready to hand her over into the care of someone else. And I actually left her with a really good friend of mine who was a veteran mum. When I dropped her off, I had a whole heap of pre-prepared food, this little booklet detailing what her routine was, what she liked, the songs that she liked, the way that she liked to be held. And the response from my dear friend was a bit of a giggle, turn around, go and have fun. She threw my little booklet at me as I walked out and started eating the food that I'd prepared for her and just reassured me that my daughter was going to be alive when I came back. I felt like a right deal. But nonetheless, if this is your first time or not even your first time, hiring a babysitter and working out exactly who is right for you to leave your little one in the care of is really important. It comes down to the type of person that you want your children around, the experience that you want them to have, and of course, someone that you feel safe and comfortable leaving them with. And we don't always know the babysitter that we are asking to take care of our little ones. It may be that you're hiring from an agency, it might be a recommendation. So nonetheless, stick with us and we're going to go through the process, the questions that you need to ask, the information that you need to know, and of course some little tips to transitioning your little one into the care of somebody else. So the first thing that you really need to decipher is exactly the type of babysitter that you want and the type of qualities that you want them to have. Now the easiest way to do this, and you can actually follow this step by step by downloading and printing out our guide to hiring a babysitter from Ready Set Mum, is to work out the kind of babysitter and the qualities that you do want them to have, but also work out the kind of babysitter and the type of qualities that you don't want them to have, because then you can negate any babysitters that maybe have some habits or some philosophies or some beliefs that don't necessarily align with your own beliefs and your parenting skills. So grab a big piece of paper or download the downloadable guide. Funny, isn't it? Draw a T and put do want and don't want, and then list the qualities such as the type of experience you want them to have. Are you happy having a brand new teenager who hasn't had a lot of experience with children, or do you want a veteran babysitter? Do you want them to have had experience with children of your age, or maybe you have a lot of children? Also really important, if you have children with special needs, you may want someone who has experience with the special needs that your child requires. Now also look at the type of qualifications. Some people like for their babysitters to have, as an example, medical or first aid qualifications. You may want them to have child development qualifications, especially if you're hiring a nanny or someone more permanent and long I need a babysitter because I need to sleep long term. Also look at the qualities. Now we have Jade at Ready Set Mum. She's absolutely amazing, and she has created a fantastic diagram with a qualities picker, so you can look at that and take the qualities that you do want and you don't want straight from that qualities picker. So do you want them to be kind, loving, nurturing, routine, scheduled, authoritarian? Whatever you want is right for you. But remember, What your next door neighbor wants or what your sister wants in a babysitter is going to be different because you are different, your family's values and beliefs and parenting styles are different, and your children are different. The next thing that you need to look at, and this is really important, is availability. What kind of availability do you want your babysitter to have? This might just be a once-off and you're leaving them for a special night out with the girls or a night out with your partner. It may be that you want someone more regular. It may be that someone is coming in to care for your children like a nanny when you go away to work or go away to university or college. So look at the availability. It's much easier for your kids to have one babysitter or a couple of babysitters rather than bringing someone in all the time, because then they have to adapt and become comfortable and get familiar. And then when you go to hire a babysitter, you can let them know when they need to be available, and the people that are available at those times can apply, and the people that aren't won't apply. Now the next tip is to make a babysitter hit list. This is not what it sounds like, okay? But what this is once you do have an understanding and a really clear vision of the kind of babysitter you want, you can shortlist the top 3 to 5 babysitters that you can start getting on a call and calling. Now the other thing that's going to work in your favor once you do the qualifications picker, the qualities picker, the experience picker on that T diagram is you can actually use what you do want and what you don't want to guide your questions. But I have had parents and I have had babysitting agencies that have actually used that T diagram as a basis to create an advert outlining exactly the type of qualities and key criteria that they want in a babysitter. Now, once you've narrowed down your top 3 to 5 babysitters, it's time to get on the phone and start asking them questions. Now, in the downloadable guide and of course in our article, we have a whole list of questions to go through. Like we said before, there is a huge possibility that you don't actually know the other person on the other end of the phone, the person that's going to be potentially caring for your children. So these questions are designed to make sure that they qualify with everything that you want, make sure that they qualify with everything that you don't want, but also allow you to get to know them. Now, the introduction or the way that you start this phone call is also really important. Of course, it is a job interview, but this person is going to come into your family and your space. You also want them to be comfortable. So rather than being really rigorous and straight to the point and firing questions at them, try and make it a little bit conversational so that they can ease into answering the questions and give them the best chance of answering it without wetting themselves and running away. You don't want to scare away the perfect babysitter. If you're happy with the questions that have been answered by your babysitter, it's really important that you then follow up by asking references. References are an absolutely vital part of the process of hiring a babysitter. It literally substantiates everything that the babysitter has said. So once again, get on the phone to the babysitter's reference, do the introduction, we have a script there, but the first thing that you need to ask is, are you aware that babysitter's name has listed you or handed your name and number over as a reference? If they say no, alarm bells could be ringing because you wonder, well, why haven't they let this person know that they're a reference? It also may just be that they're not sure about the process. Ask them if they're comfortable asking questions about said babysitter. If they are, continue with the conversation. Make sure it's a good time for them as well, because you want to be able to have the most in-depth conversation that you can. So if it's not a good time to speak to the reference, ask for another time that you can call, and then head into the questions there that we've listed in the downloadable babysitter hiring guide or the article that we've got at Ready, Set, Mum. Now, once you have settled on a babysitter, it's possible that you may want to take some time for paid observation. Paid observation is when you pay the babysitter to come and spend time with your children so that you can see how they interact and how they fit into your family, and if you are happy with them to be the person that cares for your child. It's really important that you offer this as a paid experience because, let's face it, they're traveling, they're coming and spending their time, but it's also an opportunity for you to make sure that they're right and that you are comfortable. You then may like to have a transition period for your babysitter and your child. This is perfectly fine. It must also be paid for the same reasons, But what this time is exactly what it sounds like. It's a transition period where your babysitter, but also your child or children, can get comfortable, familiar, build a relationship, a bond, and start feeling safe with your babysitter. Now, we've listed tips and tricks to help you with your transition, but a lot of it is based around child development and psychology. Your children will more than likely have an attachment to you. This is really normal. From the time that they're born and even when they are in your belly, you start forming a bond with them and they start forming an attachment. Your home base, mum and dad or the carers are home base, and it can be quite a stressful time when your children are having to leave you and go in the care of someone else. Now, I went through a transition period when I had to put my first child into childcare. It lasted about 2 months. I'd go down there with her for about 3 hours, 3 times a week for 2 months. I think the transition period for her that I did was probably more for myself, but it also allowed her to get comfortable and get used to the idea that she was going with someone else. So what are some tips for transition? The first tip is to take it slow, all right? And this is what transition is all about. It moves away from that, here's my child and I'm going to run out of the door. It may be that your babysitter comes, once a day or once a week for a couple of months and gets to spend time with you and the children, and then you slowly remove yourself from that situation. The next thing that you might like to do is what we call bit by bit, and this is extended periods of care with your babysitter. So for a start, your children might be with your babysitter for half an hour, the next time it gets moved up to an hour, the next time it gets moved up to an hour and a half, until everyone is really comfortable with the situation. Then there's fun and distractions. What kids don't like fun, what parents don't like distractions. These are like ethical little fun bribes. So it might be that your babysitter does things like watches a movie. Come on, mum's gonna go now, let's all watch a movie. They offer something fun in return for allowing you to leave and making that child feel safe. For younger children, it may be a little bit of a rattle as you leave. I know my children were quite upset when I first left for the first 5 minutes. I was absolutely distraught, and then I would come back and my babysitter or the carers at childcare would literally turn around and go, oh, she cried for 5 minutes and then she was fine. She forgot that you were there. She'd put on a turn when I got back, so for me it looked like she'd been crying the whole time, but it absolutely was not the case. Now, the next one is really important for your baby or child's levels of comfort and calm. And this is to leave your emotions on the other side of the door. I literally used to drop my daughter off at childcare or with the babysitter, and once it was time to get away, I would run and just be a mess of tears and carry on the other side. It's really important for your child that they don't necessarily see that. So hold your breath, stay strong, get to the other side of the door, and then let it all out on the other side of the door and away from them so that they don't see you upset and get stressed and upset as a result. And then the very last thing, and this is important throughout your transition period, but also whenever you have a babysitter or leave your child in the care of someone else, and that is to reassure them that you are coming back when you leave and provide evidence of that when you come home. Even if they're asleep and you see them in the morning, say little things like, see, I told you mum was gonna come home. Here I am, and then give them a nice cuddle. Reassure them that you're coming back. Mum's only going for the nighttime. She will see you in the morning. This just allows their little brains to settle, and once they see this happening a few times, it's going to become easy. You may get in a routine with your babysitter so your children know exactly what's going on. They have a really good routine with him and her. All right, mum's gonna go now, let's go watch a movie. You'll see her in the morning. They go and watch the movie and they get to see you or climb into bed with you in the morning. So there you have it, guys, the ultimate guide to hiring a babysitter. Hiring a babysitter 101. Once again, make sure you head across to the article at Ready Set Mum, download our guide to hiring a babysitter. Everything we've discussed in this video is outlined there step by step. Jade has done an absolutely remarkable job to make this no fuss, as easy and in-depth as possible. Give this video a like and a share, and we'll see you really soon back here at Ready Set Mum.